Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, guys, to another Bumblebee podcast. You have Virgil here and Haifa, as usual. So today's topic, we're going to be reflecting on our journey as an uncle and an auntie, and our journey as special guardians for our lovely nephew Isaac. So this topic, I guess you could say, is a little bit sensitive, a little bit loaded. We just view it as a way of bettering ourselves, a way of improving how we are as individuals, and taking it as a test where God, loves us and wants us to be better. So we wanted to share some tips and tricks and just our own story of how we, I guess, landed in this situation, or how it fell upon our laps. So Isaac, as you can see from some of our videos, is what I like to call an instant child. I call him an instant child because in Asian culture, Chinese culture, we have these, noodle packets. Everybody knows them, instant noodles. And when I was very young, I used to pray that I'd get a child very quickly. And I guess, God, he answered my prayers in the form of Isaac. He came, I guess, when he was about 4 or 5 years old. So we missed, the sleepless nights. We missed all of that baby kind of drama where you get weed on or pooped on. Mm-hmm. And he just came to us after going through a difficult period of time in his life through the system, which is lots of social workers, lots of care homes,
foster carers.
Care homes anymore. Sorry, yeah. So lots of disorganized attachments with lots and lots of different people, the police, lawyers, all of that jazz. And I guess for us it was a very difficult time. We were very newly married, I guess you could say, very young in our marriage, or very early on in our marriage, young in general.
Yeah.
And I guess these things sometimes just get thrusted upon you because there's no other option or no other viable option for Isaac to have been with anybody else. So we just, I guess, accepted it and tried to work on what we could provide him and for ourselves. And I guess it's a lot of, or impacted on how we would eat, how we would travel.
I think the issue is, we got Isaac, we were very young, but we were determined that just because we did have a child with us, it wouldn't sort of change. If we wanted to go out and eat and if we wanted to go on holidays, we just incorporated all of that along with Isaac. So he just became like a little third musketeer. So we just made sure that whatever we did with him, and that sort of made him feel more welcome, made him feel like he belonged somewhere, and also gave him a bit more confidence as a child.
Yeah, and you could see that whenever you'd ask him, where are you from? He'd always say, oh, I'm Chinese. even though there's no ounce or drop of blood of Chinese in him, but he really embraced the culture,
the food,
the
family.
learning Chinese as well, watching Chinese programs. So I think he really loves to identify
As a Chinese person.
as a Chinese person, and even his best friends at school were Chinese people. So I think a lot of your efforts, they feel like they're in vain. They feel like, you're going 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. But as Muslims and just as people that care for others, you need to put in the effort. It's going to come with a lot of struggle. It's going to be really, really hard. Sometimes you're going to be pulling out your hair. Sometimes you're just going to wonder what's going on. Why is it not working? Are we just speaking another language? But I think that's just childcare in general.
Especially for a child who's been through as much as Isaac has been through. So it's not going to be a linear
trajectory.
Yeah, it's gonna, like, he's gonna have dips along the way. He's gonna have highs, he's gonna have lows, and you just need to be able to see that and understand that. And also, you have to, we are his advocates. So we are we have to, when he can't speak for himself, we need to speak for him. We need to make sure that we're looking after him in a way that we would want our own child to be looked after. So you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You have to do it for the child, not for yourself. So you need to understand, is this what's best for Isaac? Not me, not you, not like anyone else. It has to be what is best for Isaac, and you do what's best for the child. Yeah. Anyway.
It can be difficult sometimes, but I guess we've had a way of, if we ever fall down the wrong path or do the wrong thing, we have each other to support and give each other constructive criticism and feedback, which I think is very important. I guess as a single parent, it would be harder. It's harder to notice,
or even to be able to reflect if you don't see it from an outside point of view. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's good that we have each other through the journey.
And I guess it's just finding, if you don't have that person, trying to find someone else that could support you. For example, something that we've drawn upon is our extended family. If we need help, for example, my mum, she would help us out, or my auntie, or
my
sisters, or
my stepmom,
other people. And it does get tough sometimes, but
even our friends have done their fair share of babysitting.
So friends, thank you as well.
You know who you are.
It's been really helpful. And sometimes I wanted to say that as parents, you also need to give yourself some credit, and you also need to take breaks as well. It can be really, really full on trying to raise someone else's child, or even your own child.
Especially when it's hard to understand what they're going through, and they can't express it themselves. They barely even know what they're going through, so they can't express that, and it's like everyone is lost. But you just try, and you try, and you try.
I mean, you try and get me to express myself sometimes, and I also find it very difficult. So imagine someone...
Do you even have feelings?
Someone that has suffered so much and they don't even know what happy and sadness looks like or feels like, and it obviously comes out wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't blame them. So you just have to
support them
Support
as
them.
much as possible. Just be there for them.
And I like to kind of think that this trial was also very similar to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his uncle, who would look after him and raise him like his own. You know, we take inspiration from different parts of the seerah, how to, you know, treat orphans, how to treat children, and finding these stories and trying to better yourself is really the aim, isn't it, as Muslims and just individuals. So it's just trying to, you know, infuse your niyyah to please Allah, and infusing it with your actions as well. So a bit like as individuals, we're a bit like farmers, where sometimes you you sow your seeds.
You reap what you sow.
You sow your seeds, you plant it, you water it, you make sure that it's well looked after, the conditions are correct. But sometimes, you know, seeds don't germinate. Sometimes they need a bit of extra time. Sometimes, or some days, they'll grow really, really fast, and you have to kind of adapt and be really well versed, well prepared, I guess you could say, with these things. And sometimes you won't see the effects until later on. Sometimes I always question to myself, what, are we even doing the right thing? And then you always say to me, look at where he's come from the beginning until now.
Or even like last year and this year, last month and this month. It's like, it's small changes, but they do happen, and you just need to, I think it's very hard to continue to gain momentum and keep motivation, but when you just need to always be able to reflect and look back, because that's where the greatest change has happened.
And sometimes you have to give them their own time and space for them to reflect on things. For example, let's say Isaac took a chocolate from the fridge. Sometimes you won't recognize the wrong he's done. I mean, you could just bang on about it and nag him, but he needs to be able to identify in himself what he has done. And it's kind of not taking the lax approach, but giving him time to reflect and realize his mistake. And sometimes it takes lots of different,
I mean, if he's not going to realize it for himself, there's no point, is there? You can like talk to him till tomorrow, but he needs to be able to think, am I supposed to eat a chocolate now? Have I asked? Is it the right time? Is it food coming soon? Like, he needs to think about the world around him. And it's hard, you know, as an 11-year-old. It's like, you see a chocolate, you want it. Like, I want the chocolate, what's the problem?
Yeah, children are very primal, so they haven't developed their brain to think about long-term planning. Oh, we're going to live next week or in the month's time. They're very like immediate action, cause and effect.
Yeah. And I think that's what you need to remember. As an adult, you can't expect the child to be, you know, where you are. You've had a lot longer to get to that point. They haven't, so.
And I guess we're also going to get to the stage where he's going to be an adolescent with hormones starting to rage within his body, and a rebellious stage.
How's your sleep?
What?
How's your sleep? No, I'm not ready for Isaac to get a deep voice, or to even just hit like adolescence. But it's coming. It's coming.
I think you just need to realize that you can be in control, but who's really in the control is the creator. And just making sure that you have an action plan that we keep coming back to.
You need to have the right intention. You need to sort of think about where you want to go, what you want for them to achieve, how you want for them to be as a person, like, you know, their core values, and then you just work from there. But it all starts with having the right intention and putting, you know, their needs first.
And what, you know, as Muslims we need to think about is not just immediate. And when I mean immediate, I mean like just 5-10 years. I'm thinking about, you know, 30-40 years time, or even in the akhirah. Are you setting them up for success? Like, yes, a school can be very successful in terms of education, and that is a big thing, but what about, you know, Jannah? Isn't that the best and most
So this is what you
successful
think about
thing?
when you start applying for secondary schools for your children.
Yeah, do they have Friday prayers? Do they have good teachers?
Can they support his needs? Are his needs going to be thought of? Is he going to be, you know, someone who's going to thrive or not? And I think it's important to make sure that you give them the tools for success. Because at the end of the day, you know, after going through the care system, there's not a lot of success rate in terms of, you know, what happens to the kids after the age of 18. So we want to make sure, you know, that Isaac gets opportunities that he wouldn't have got otherwise. We want to make sure that, you know, he doesn't have to be a statistic, and he can, you know, he can do whatever it is he wants to do. We just want to give him that chance.
And I wanted to end it upon this point where you've now done all of your actions, and I think a big thing that I'm trying to incorporate nowadays, and you, is just making dua for the child. Allah hears, is all hearing. He hears our du'as. He hears that, you know, we want the best for him and ourselves, obviously. Don't let go of your du'a. Even when you think it's not being answered, Allah will, you know, save it for you. Maybe down the road, you know, 3-4 years, that's when Allah will answer it. Or, you know, further down the road. So just keep making that dua, keep putting the action in, the dua, and you'll get somewhere. Bi'idhnillah, by the will of Allah. Because, you know, you hear those stories where, you know, the imams or the muadhins only got to that place because even though they were being very naughty when they were very young, their parents would make dua for them, and they would consistently try and apply themselves in making dua for their children. And that's what we need to be reminded of, and we need to take in action as well, that we need to make dua for those who, you know, have gone through trauma, those who you don't see what's going on.
Yeah, kids have it hard.
Kids do have it very difficult nowadays.
Especially after Corona.
Especially after Corona, phones,
lockdown,
internet,
bullying. Yeah. Got to navigate the minefield out there.
Navigate
this is
the
why
minefield.
Isaac doesn't have a phone. Yeah, no, that's another responsibility in and of itself.
Inshallah. So I hope you found what we had to say very interesting. I mean, I think we brought up some good points just now.
It's just a chance for us to reflect again on our own practice.
So if you liked our video, please leave a like, please subscribe, or please leave a comment about what you'd like us to talk about next time, inshallah.
Or even just leave a nice comment for Isaac. I'm sure he'd appreciate reading that.
Yeah. When he's older, or
even now.
Even today. Okay, thanks guys. Speak to you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.